And today we are reviewing the INNODIGYM P1 Lite Plus, an electronic resistance machine that is small, compact, and easy to use in the home, which is a little bit of a different take on resistance from a mechanical standpoint, which offers several big advantages, but also quite a few changes from other resistance machines. So let's take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. The INNODIGYM P1 Lite Plus is a platform resistance machine, which means that the electronic motors that generate the resistance are in a stable platform that you're usually standing on, and you're using mostly ground-based exercise through the cables that you're pushing and pulling against. First impressions are this is aptly named, with light being the actual name, because it is very light indeed. A lot of these machines are quite heavy because, of course, they contain big, heavy motors with magnets and everything, which means that while they are somewhat portable, and you can kind of carry them from one part of the room to the other, the P1 Lite has the big advantage of being much more small, compact, and actually easy to carry. One of the things that I like about it are the handles on the sides of the unit that can easily pop out and very much carry it around, kind of like a suitcase unit, or you can pop them back in and they're not kind of in the way, something that you're going to trip on. One of the big advantages, again, to being so light is it comes in two models. There's the P1 Lite, which is the basic platform unit, but then you also have the P1 Lite Plus, which is what INNODIGYM sent me. And it includes these brackets and wall anchors that allows the unit to actually be mounted on the wall. And not only does this kind of just keep it off the floor and good for storage and stuff, but it also has the advantage of giving you a lot more exercise options, such as horizontal chest presses, rows, pull downs, cable chops and stuff, which is actually, when you think about it, really genius in how they designed this thing, because now you don't need all these other attachments and pieces of metal taking up a lot of space. It gives you all of those exercise options without needing a very big, cumbersome machine with things that you got to adjust and move around. You just simply pick it up, mount it on the wall, and your options are almost limitless in the directions that you can apply resistance to. Comes with other accommodating accessories as well. We have two adjustable ankle cuffs. These are like the original INNODIGYM ankle cuffs, very adjustable, very customizable, and will fit any foot, as well as a squat belt, which I certainly love, because one of the things that is best about a squat belt is it allows you to load up your legs in your squat chain directly, so there's a lot less stress on your lower back, and it gives you all of that stability that you want from lower loading up of your hips, as opposed to loading something like your hands or your shoulders and back, making it much more accessible for safer and more effective lower body training. And then lastly, we have the handles that are included. Now, the INNODIGYM P1 Lite Plus and P1 Lite has a couple of unique handles to it, because usually when we're talking about these electronic resistance machines, we're looking at handles that are proprietary for the machine. They have electronics in it, they have buttons that allow you to engage and disengage the resistance. Instead, the P1 Lite Plus and P1 Lite have just a very basic style of handle that you would find on most cable machines, which is a very different approach, but it has its pros and its cons. The best thing about these is these are very lightweight, they're very simple, they're a lot more portable. You're dealing with a lot less electronics, a lot less things that you can potentially break or go wrong. It also allows you to just swap out and use whatever handles that you prefer to use if you have something else that you like to use. They are very easy to rotate, very smooth for things like curls and rear flies and stuff. Overall, it's a much simpler approach. And then we have, of course, the main unit itself. One of the things that I really appreciate about the P1 Lite and the P1 Lite Plus is that it's all self-contained in one component. You don't have, as I said earlier, electronics in handles. You don't have all these other buttons. Everything is really small, compact, and easy to access. You just got the simple buttons on the control panel. Very easy to use and adjust the weight, adjust the mode settings, and turn the resistance on and off. It's a much simpler way of going about it. There's not a lot of complicated buttons or settings, so you can use it as a standalone feature as the unit itself, or with the INNODIGYM app, which amplifies things to a much higher level. And speaking of the INNODIGYM app, the app is fantastic in tracking workouts, getting your workouts programmed, discovering new exercises, getting instructions, basically everything that you want from an electronic guidance standpoint for utilizing the best out of the INNODIGYM is in that app. It's very well designed, very well laid out. But again, one of the things I like about it is that it amplifies the INNODIGYM experience, but it's not necessary. So if you just want to get on the gym itself and just go through a quick workout and you don't want to deal with any of the digital fidgeting and stuff like that, you don't need to use it. And lastly, the thing I like about that is it subscription free? Everything these days is on subscriptions. You got to pay a monthly fee to use everything. That app and all of the services that are included with it that use the electronics in the INNODIGYM, it's all just one and done. You don't have to pay a subscription fee to get access to everything, which this day and age, I sincerely appreciate. But enough about the features and stuff. Brass tacks, what are we talking about when it comes to getting a workout in on the INNODIGYM? Well, I'll be showing you a couple of exercises and a basic workout a little bit later on, but this is, again, a piece of electronic resistance equipment, which means we're not getting resistance from gravity like with weights or with calisthenics. We're also not utilizing bands or anything like that. There are motors inside the platform, and you can use these motors for generating the resistance, which may seem like a bit of a fancy schmancy, overcomplicated way of generating resistance, but it has some very distinct advantages over other forms of resistance. The first advantage, of course, is that you can take that resistance and you can turn it on or off, which, unlike a free weight, if I pick up a kettlebell or something, then the resistance is immediate the second I pick it up, regardless of what my body position is, which is sometimes a little bit cumbersome. Like if you're trying to get dumbbells into a position for bench press, you got to deal with the load of those dumbbells on your body until you're in that position you want to actually be working out in. But with electronic resistance, we have the ability to turn the resistance on and off, which means you can get into a good position, then turn the resistance on, and you have it, and then when you're done, turn it right off. So you're not at the whims of gravity or a band or something that puts a little bit more stress and strain on your joints. It gives you much more control. It's a lot safer way to go about it. And one of those things that you just got to feel it to experience how wonderful it is on your body so that you can control when you have that resistance, not just how much resistance you have. The other advantage to electronic resistance is that you can adjust it with the push of a button. The P1 Lite and the P1 Lite Plus both go from about 4.5 pounds at the base level of resistance all the way up to 133 pounds of resistance. So you've got a pretty good range for most applications, considering especially that you're going to be using individual handles. So that's a fairly wide range, and you can adjust it in 1 kilogram increments. So for a lot of like lighter exercises like rear flies or something, you're not going to get stuck with like, well, I got a 5-pound weight and I've got a 10-pound weight, and you feel like you need to be somewhere in between. If you want a 7-pound level of resistance, you can do that very easily and efficiently with the electronic resistance of the P1.
But one of the biggest advantages of using electronic resistance is the various modes that you can utilize with changing and modulating how that resistance is applied to your muscles. I'm going to demonstrate it a little bit here in a simple workout. I'm using it in the basic full body approach. I'm going to start off with my lower body. I already have the squat belt on, and I will just start with attaching on the belts. Very easy when you don't have the resistance turned on. And for this, we're going to be using the first and the probably most athletic mode is the speed mode. Now this mode is going to apply the resistance according to how much force I'm putting into the cables. So unlike a regular weight, it's going to modulate the resistance according to how much force I'm putting into it. So I already have it set up for that mode, and I will have a decent amount of resistance. I'll turn on the load now, and now when I drive, it's having more resistance as I kick into the legs. Very handy for developing that speed power Again, I love how the belt just sits on my hips. There's no stress in my lower back. There's no strain on my spine. And I'm able to just get a lot of force in the legs. I don't want to jump, of course, because that would just be trying to lift the platform off the floor. But I got it in my hips, my glutes. I'll go for about 5 more reps into the lower body, getting the heart rate up a little bit. And turn it on off. Now I'm gonna adjust the resistance a bit, and now I'm gonna do the exact same thing for the body here with lunges. Turn it on, and I'll get about 6 to really fry out one leg at a time. Yeah. So as my legs are getting a little bit more tired, the resistance is coming down according to what the speed mode is able to give me. And 6. There we go. Off. And now it's really easy for me to just unclip the belt because there's no resistance. Letting the machine just take the cable back in, and I will adjust right to the handles for the other exercises. Simple carabiner clip in, and for this, we'll be utilizing the deadlift in the chain mode. Now the chain mode I really like for deadlifts because a lot of times we have a weaker position in the bottom, but we have more resistance or strength at the top. So with utilizing this for the deadlift, it's a lot safer and easier on the back, but much harder on the muscles at the top position. So I'll get into position here. Already got it level turned on, shoulders are packed, and it resists higher the top. So I have less resistance here, more resistance here. Really good for engaging the glutes and the hamstrings. Now again, it only goes up to about 133 pounds of resistance. Not a lot for a lot of deadlift motion. So we can modify our technique. I'll go with kickstand deadlift. So now I'm using primarily my right leg. And now I've got an adequate amount of resistance on my right side. 2, 1. Of course, you gotta balance these things out. Now I'm on my left side. Very good for hip stability. 2. 1 more for good measure. And back down, turning it off. Now for the upper body, we'll go with a eccentric mode, which is what I much prefer for my overhead press. So I have very little resistance until I start to lower. So press up, and now I'm fighting it on the way down. Easy, hard. Much better if you have wonky shoulders, as I often do. Easy, hard, hard, hard. Fight it, fight it, fight it. Ugh. Difficult. Ugh. Working hard. Easy, because that's usually where things are harsh on the muscles. Ugh. Is on the lifting out of the position where I have less stability. We'll go 3 more. Really good for building up and stimulating hypertrophy as well. Fighting. And I can go as heavy as I want. And then finally, to round things out, we'll go with our standard, good old-fashioned strength mode. This is like lifting with normal levels of resistance on a weight machine. And we'll do this for a bent over row, turning on the resistance here. Allows me to get in a good position, shoulders are packed, and I've got my standard pull. Nice and controlled. I can vary up my hand position to what I want, where I'm feeling it most in my back. Underhand grip, a little more in the biceps. Really, you can see I'm not having to adjust a lot of equipment. I'm not changing things around a lot as far as settings and stuff. It's all push button, real quick, really efficient, and does not take a lot of time with all of the logistics of the workout, making it super time and energy efficient. Holding for an isometric to finish off. 5, 4, 3, 2, and done. So that got my whole body right there in 4 moves, using all 4 modes in a very classic, efficient method.
So on the whole, electronic resistance as a modality and a technology has lots of benefits that you can't quite get to that degree with any other strength training modality. And the P1 Lite is one of the most compact and efficient ways to access this technology, because these things are usually much bigger and much more space hogging and much more complicated to use, and they're also a lot more expensive. The P1 brings everything down to a level that's much more accessible and affordable for everyone to get into, utilizing it either for your main type of strength training or something that you can have as a portable option for if you're stashing this in like a camper or an RV, or even something that you have as a supplemental like mini home gym when you can't get to the gym. So on the whole, it's a winner. You can't really go wrong with this sort of thing. You're still accessing your basic fundamental exercises and tension chains. So you're not doing anything fancy as far as what your body's doing. So it's going to work just as well as anything else that you're accessing with presses, overhead presses, curls, deadlifts, squats, lunges. All of the classic exercises that have always worked will work again with this, because you're not really fundamentally doing anything that different. But what about the actual unit itself, and how does it compare with being able to access and utilize those exercises? But it's not all 100% the best thing in the world, and there's a few areas where the INNODIGYM P1 Plus kind of goes a little bit left of center. The first thing that I noticed is that one of the unique features of the P1 Plus is it has voice commands and voice prompts that help guide you through your workouts and tells you kind of what's going on. But I found that the volume or the enunciation, or maybe it's just the speakers in the thing, were just not the clearest there was. So I often couldn't quite understand what was being said. It kind of sounded a little bit muffled behind something. And it also wasn't entirely loud. Now, I couldn't tell if there was a volume adjustment on this sort of thing, but if I'm in a very quiet, peaceful environment, I could hear it okay. But I like to listen to music when I'm working out. Oftentimes I'm in kind of an environment where there's traffic and cars and people shouting in hallways and stuff like that. So any sort of environmental noise often clouded out that voice prompt, which left it to be more of just something that was there that didn't really benefit me. And if anything, it was like, what did you say? And I was always kind of checking in on what it was. And I kind of almost felt I wanted to just turn it off. The next thing is with these handles. Now, this is kind of a pro versus con sort of thing. As I mentioned before, these handles don't have, like a lot of electronic resistance machines, activation buttons that allow you to turn the resistance on and off. Instead, the unit itself has the activation button right on the control console, which kind of made me wonder, why even have it to begin with? Because one of the big advantages of electronic resistance is the ability to get into position, turn the resistance on, get your reps in, turn it off, and then put the handles back down and return it. But because the button is on the unit itself, that means that I adjust the weight, hit the button, and then I have to pick it up as if it's just normal free weights. It doesn't really give me much of that option to get into a position and then turn it on. Now, if I'm working with a partner or if I'm working with clients, of course, then I can have someone else turn the button on for me, or I could turn the button on or off for the client using it. And there were a couple of exercises where it was somewhat accessible, like when doing squats and stuff. But for the most part, it means that you're going to have to turn on the resistance work with the resistance to get into position and then do your reps, making it much more like standard resistance technology, which isn't a bad thing. But one of the biggest advantages of electronic resistance is compromised because of that. The other thing about these handles, and this is more of just a personal thing, is this concave type feature to it. Now, the handles are perfectly fine and comfortable to use, but back in the day in the industry, it was kind of widely accepted, and I still believe this, that the most comfortable type of handle is either straight or the opposite, where it's barrel shaped, because the palm of your hand is concave in and of itself, and a barrel shape would just kind of match that shape in your palm. This is like the opposite. It's almost as if you were to say, well, if I was going to design a handle to work against the ergonomics of the palm of the hand, what would you do? And it would be this. But again, that's one of the great things about the P1 Lite Plus is that you don't need proprietary handles. So if I'm like, well, I don't like the way these handles work with my hands, I just swap them out for ones that do, which is one of the distinct advantages of it. So overall, the INNODIGYM P1 Lite and the P1 Lite Plus are fantastic ways to get into the technology of electronic resistance. It's much more small, compact, portable. The price point is very friendly as well compared to other units that can cost thousands of dollars and take up a lot more space in the gym and be harder to install. This is a great supplement to already having a home gym if you wanted to kind of give your joints a little bit of a break from the rigor of classic free weights, or give you some different angles and things to work with opposed to something you would be doing with like calisthenics and stuff. It really is a fantastic way to get into it. It just has a couple of little compromises that come with that efficiency and the simplicity of the design of the unit. Just something to be mindful of. If you want to check out more, the link down below will guide you towards the INNODIGYM website. If you want to check out more, link down below in the description will guide you there for more information where you can pick up one of these and get more information. Thank you so much, INNODIGYM, for sending me this to play around with for the past couple of weeks. I sincerely appreciate it, and thank you very much as always for watching. Talk to you in the next video. Till then, be fit and live free.